Hi, I'm USA Today bestselling author Jennifer Youngblood. Thanks for joining me for One Chapter a Day, The Clean Romance Way. Today, I'm going to be reading Chapter 5 of Her Crazy Rich Fake Fiancé. Okay, yesterday when we left off, Haven and Wyatt had a magical evening going Christmas caroling. Things are starting to get really good between them, and Haven is having this question, should she tell him the truth? Should she not? She really wants to have a wonderful Christmas. She's starting to have feelings for him, and so things are getting kind of tricky. So we're going to find out what happens next. Chapter 5. What's your favorite Christmas song? Wyatt asked. Haven pursed her lips thoughtfully. That's a hard one. There are so many good ones to choose from. After returning to the cottage, they had picked up the game they started earlier in the day, asking each other questions. Haven initiated it so that she'd have a direction to channel her mind. Simply being with Wyatt was consuming her. The more time she spent with him, the stronger her attraction grew. She had to distract herself from it. She tucked her leg underneath her, sitting cross-legged as she shifted to get comfortable on the couch. I like Silver Bells. He shrugged. Yeah, it's okay, he said nonchalantly. Her eyes widened. Okay, it's fantastic, a classic. How could you not like Silver Bells? Hold your horses, little lady, he drawled. I didn't say I didn't like it. There are just other songs I like more. She raised her eyebrows, crossing her arms over her chest. Such as? A cryptic smile played on his lips, making her wonder what he was up to. He stood and strode to the other side of the room. He opened the doors to a waist-high cabinet. Is that a record player? Yep. Hayden couldn't help but smile. Of course Wyatt would have a record player. He had every trait on the planet that made him irresistible to females. Why not a record player too? She stood and went to his side, intrigued to see which records he owned. She was now more certain than ever that this cottage belonged to Wyatt's family. He thumbed through the stack of albums and pulled one out. Removing the record from the sleeve, he placed it on the turntable. He turned it on and placed the needle on the circling vinyl. A second later, a twangy tune filled the air. Haven burst out laughing. Grandma got run over by a reindeer? Are you serious? I love this song, he countered. It's a classic. Well, yeah, if you live in Redneckville. Wyatt started doing a ridiculous, silly dance across the floor. With his high steps and bobbing neck, he reminded her of a strutting chicken. Chicks dig this. His eyes danced with laughter. You should have seen me in my heyday. All those high school sophomores crowded around the scrawny, four-eyed kid doing his thing. I can only imagine. She wagged a finger. This has got to be the goofiest dance I've ever seen. He turned to face her, moving closer. You know you're impressed. He swayed his hips in an exaggerated circle like he was wielding an imaginary hula hoop. Haven giggled, feeling like a teenager again. Come on, join me, Wyatt urged. He slid an arm around her waist, pulling her to him as he coaxed her to follow his lead. Heat surged through Haven being this close to Wyatt. Yeah, he may have been acting like a goofball, but he was nothing like the awkward kid of his youth. Now his antics made him even more enticing because he could laugh at himself and have fun. Wyatt was strong and lithe, all muscle, magnificently male. The song ended and another one began. The rich, deep sound of Elvis Presley filled the air with Blue Christmas. Wyatt pulled her closer, singing the lyrics into her ear. His lips grazed her earlobe, sending a pleasant shiver down her spine. They moved in a perfect rhythm. Haven felt like she was floating in a beautiful dream with Prince Charming holding her in his arms. When the song ended, Wyatt stepped back and twirled her around. Then he dipped her back, peering over her as he searched her face. Trembles went through Haven when she saw the flicker of longing in his arresting eyes. It was tempered with caution and wistfulness. She hoped he might kiss her, but he lifted her up and stepped back, letting her go. Instinctively, she knew that Wyatt was fighting some inner battle where she was concerned. He was probably wondering if he could trust her or Bryn. No doubt Bryn had proven time and time again that she couldn't be trusted. Her heart thudded dully in her chest. Once Wyatt learned the truth, he wouldn't trust Haven either. Would you like some hot chocolate? Wyatt's voice had a forced cheerfulness. Haven could almost see the wall going up between them. She touched his arm. Hey. Yeah? She had no idea what to say. She couldn't tell him the truth, not yet. Haven wanted their relationship to deepen first, so she'd have a fighting chance of keeping him. Oh boy. Sometime during the drive from New York, dinner and caroling, her thought patterns had shifted. She was no longer simply thinking of having a good time with Wyatt during Christmas. She wanted to get to know him, to pursue a real relationship as herself. Whatever happened between us before, she coughed to clear the frog in her throat. Can we just forget all that and start fresh from here, as if we just met? A look of surprise flickered in his eyes. His features relaxed as he smiled. I'd like that. Me too, she agreed. On that note, would you like to watch a movie while we drink our hot chocolate? She kept her expression serious, on one condition. He grinned warily. Oh, yeah? What's that? That we make it a Christmas movie. He laughed. You're on. Their mugs full of hot chocolate, Haven and Wyatt sat down on the couch and selected a movie. Haven took a long drink from her mug, the warm liquid coating her throat as she swallowed. The movie, a romantic comedy, began, but Haven hardly heard a word. All she could think of was how close Wyatt was beside her, their knees nearly touching. Wyatt exuded such confidence and charisma that it filled the space between them. She took another drink of her hot chocolate, forcing herself to swallow. The effect he had on her caught her off guard. She forced her brain to concentrate on the movie, but her eyes kept moving to the Christmas tree and the coziness of the fire. She didn't dare look at Wyatt for fear he'd read her thoughts, that he'd know how smitten she was. 10 or so more minutes crawled by before Wyatt reached for the remote and turned off the TV. Hey, she protested. I was watching that. No, you weren't, he countered, a knowing smile stretching over his lips. He placed his mug on the coffee table in front of them. You were thinking about me. Her hot chocolate went down the wrong way, strangling her. She coughed to clear her throat. He gave her a couple of swift slaps on her back. You okay? Yes, she croaked, sitting up and depositing her mug on the table. She was about to wipe the thin trail of liquid from her chin when Wyatt beat her to it. I'll get that, he murmured. After wiping the liquid away, he traced the outline of her lips with the delicacy of a feather. Her breath hitched, her senses reveling in his touch. Her heart rate spiked when she saw the flicker of desire in his blue eyes. Heat simmered in her stomach as anticipation circled through her. I wasn't thinking about you, she protested, her face growing hot. A low chuckle rumbled in his throat as he grinned, crinkling the corners of his confident eyes. She was briefly transfixed by the depth of his eyes. Liar. She stiffened, lifting her chin. You certainly have a high opinion of yourself. What you said earlier about us starting fresh, I'd like that. He paused, his eyes darkening to a deep royal blue. I've been thinking about you too. In fact, you're all I can think about. His admission seeped into her, hydrating her thirsty heart. Was this really happening? How could she fall so hard so fast for a man she'd just met? His fingers, warm and strong, trailed to her cheek. Deliberately, slowly, he traced the length of her jaw. You are so beautiful, he murmured. The husky edge to his voice reverberated like a symphony in her chest, making her feel the wild urge to throw her arms around his neck and thread her fingers through his thick, tawny hair. The caroling was incredible. Yes, she said softly, one of the neatest things I've ever done. His strength and masculinity circled around her in an invisible band that pulled her closer. She felt the warm tickle of his breath on her skin. I can't count the number of times I've stayed in this cottage, he continued, laughing to himself. The times I've eaten at Oscar's, gone caroling. His gaze held hers, and she was struck by the inherent strength of his defined features. Tonight, it all feels new. He searched her face. I feel like I'm seeing you for the first time. Her eyes misted as she caught the significance of his words. She blinked to hold back the moisture. Do you like what you see? Her breath froze as she waited for him to answer, feeling as though the rest of her life hinged on his next few words. A large, unencumbered grin overtook his features. What do you think? The air took on an electric charge as he cupped her cheeks, his lips brushing against hers with a tickling, teasing sensation. She parted her lips and drew closer. Silky shivers rippled through her. With deliberate slowness, he lightly kissed the tip of her nose, each corner of her lips. Just when she thought she couldn't take the anticipation a moment longer, his lips crushed hers, their mouths coming together in a breathless dance of passion and urgency. His hands moved over her back as she did what she'd been wanting to do earlier and buried her fingers in the tantalizing curls on his nape. Haven was surprised by her eager response to the demands of his lips. She felt the sensation of riding a river of fire that seared through her body, melting her soul. She lost herself in his touch and then found herself again in complete harmony. This is what she'd been missing in her life, feeling completely alive and in the moment. The warmth and tenderness in his expression almost moved her to tears. "Haven," he uttered, "that was amazing." Her eyebrow lifted questioningly, hope filling her chest. "I figure a fresh start is a perfect time for a new name. I feel that right now, you're my Haven." An exuberant smile curved her lips. "No, you're mine." She touched his face, her hand resting on the firm line of his jaw. She lifted her hand and pushed away the unruly lock of hair that had fallen over his eye. His fingers moved down to her neck, tracing the outline of her collarbone. Her heart skipped a beat. A flame ignited in her. "Say it again," she implored. "What?" "My nickname." "Haven," he uttered before claiming her lips once more. Okay, things are getting serious between these two. Okay, I want to ask you a question. What is your favorite Christmas song? Okay, I have to admit, I really like Silver Bells. That's one that my family and I used to sing together when I was growing up. My sister and I would kind of sing the backup. My parents would sing the main part, and then my sister and I would chime in with the Silver Bells. So that was kind of fun. Another one of my favorites is, you guessed it, Grandma Got Run Over by a Reindeer. I get razzed about this all the time. Actually, my husband says, "Yeah, if you like Redneckville," so I kind of thought that was cute to add that in. Sometimes I forget how much of myself I put into these, but yeah, I really like Grandma Got Run Over by a Reindeer, and I might be able to sing all of the lyrics. So, okay, I guess that is showing that maybe I am a country girl at heart. Okay, what's going to happen next? Here's to keeping it sweet and swoony. Be sure and join me tomorrow. See y'all then.